The father of an Edna Carr student who was murdered last year is arrested for killing the suspect behind his son's murder.
New Orleans police made a quick arrest in Wednesday morning's fatal double shooting that killed a 21-year-old man and severely hurt his mother.
While a mother is grieving the fatal shooting of her son, Hollis Carter, as they were driving to court to face his double murder charge.
He's with God. And I do have a peace with that.
Caleb and his stepsister, 25-year-old Rihanna Brown, were both shot and killed in Algiers Sunday. Caleb's girlfriend was also allegedly shot and injured. Police say the three were in a vehicle at Cypress Run Apartments as someone attempted to sell a gun to a man. For some reason, police say that man started shooting.
This is the story of mystery, intrigue, sadness, heartbreak, and retaliation. Our story starts with a young woman only a couple of years out of her teens. As the sun sets, casting a shadow on the steep cement stairs of the Orleans Parish Criminal Courthouse on a gloomy fall evening, the young woman's freedom would be on the line. To her defense attorney, Rihanna Brown is a 21-year-old college student with no criminal record and a supportive family. To police and prosecutors, Rihanna was a drug dealer and a killer. One who didn't hesitate before ending the life of a bright but troubled Denham Springs teenager over a petty debt.
News out in New Orleans East, NOPD officers say they've discovered the body of a woman near the intersection of the I-10 Service Road and Bullard. Megan Key will join us live from the scene where that investigation is ongoing. Megan?
We're on that I-10 Service Road. It's very close to Bullard.
Yes, good morning, Sheba. Yeah, we are here north of the I-10 Service Road here in New Orleans East. Now, this is where New Orleans police say that a woman was killed at around 3:24 this morning. Now, we're not able to get on the premises, as you can see, due to the gate here at this apartment complex. But you can see that the NOPD is still here. They're still working the scene. Now, it's been a very tense morning. We've seen people yelling at each other, upset, some people almost getting into fights here this morning. Right now, we still don't know what caused this murder. Police are still looking for a suspect at this time, but as you can see, this is still a very active scene here in this apartment complex. A lot of people here lined up, a lot of cars here lined up, and just people waiting for more information at this time. Now, we did know that this happened at around 3:24 this morning, that the victim is a woman, and right now we're still waiting on more information. So stay with Eyewitness News for the latest. Reporting live in New Orleans East, Megan Key, Eyewitness News.
All right, thank you very much, Megan. We'll check back in with you in just a bit.
On Thursday, September the 15th of 2016, both versions of Brown will be presented at Orleans Parish Criminal District Court. But in the end, the evidence assembled by a New Orleans Police Department detective, including ballistics tests, GPS data, and chilling messages from the victim predicting her own death an hour before it happened, would lead a judge to find probable cause in the murder case, allowing it to proceed to trial. Magistrate Judge Harry Cantrell ordered Brown held on $360,000 bail after the preliminary hearing. Police, meanwhile, said they were still searching for a second person they believe was involved in the killing of 19-year-old Michelle Rissamende, a 2015 graduate of Denham Springs High School, was found lying on the ground near a dumpster in the parking lot of a complex in New Orleans East. On the evening of July 13th, he had been shot 4 times. times. With Rihanna identified as a prime suspect, detectives would lay a trap. Officers stopped her outside of her apartment above a strip club in the 600 block of Iberville Street in the French Quarter on the night of August 4th. Police claim that a detective found a plastic bag of marijuana in Brown's left hand. Officers would allege they also found 18 bags of yayo in her pants. After they searched the apartment, police would say they found even more yayo, more marijuana, and a scale. Brown was booked on 2 drug counts, and 2 days later, Norman signed a warrant for her arrest on a second-degree murder charge. An Orleans Parish jury would convict Rihanna of manslaughter for the fatal shooting of a 19-year-old woman from Denham Springs in June of 2016. The jury deliberated for more than 3 hours before convicting Brianna Brown, 22 at the time. In a shocking turn of events, a second chance would be given to Brianna Brown when the U.S. Supreme Court would ban non-unanimous juries like the one that had convicted her of manslaughter in 2018 before a judge would give her 30 years in prison. Brianna would walk free on $50,000 bond, only to be slain by gunfire at the age of 25 early one Sunday afternoon in the parking lot of an apartment complex in a remote part of Algiers.
Well, a parent loses one child, that's hard, and now 2 children, that's really, really hard.
We've learned yesterday's double homicide in Algiers took 2 children away from their mother, a brother and a sister. Good evening, I'm Kim Holden.
And I'm Shelley Brown. The shooting yesterday afternoon also injured another high school senior. This happened at an apartment complex on Tullis Drive in Algiers.
Caitlin Rust spoke to the family of the 18-year-old who was killed less than a month away from his graduation.
We've been watching it on TV, like I said, across the country, even here in New Orleans, but now it's us. So that's the numbing part.
Danette O'Neill describes her nephew, 18-year-old Caleb Johnson, as energetic, excited to try new things, and an entrepreneur.
He was in the process of designing a new t-shirt line, and that's what he and I were working on. And so he's always popping up ideas, and that's what he runs by me as his TD, you know. We are very close. I'm the favorite aunt. Yeah. Let that be on the record.
She says Johnson was not a streetwise kid. He was a stellar student, even in virtual classes, playing football, looking forward to graduating and joining the Navy. O'Neill says he loved causing mischief with his little brothers. Family is everything to them.
He loved his sister, you know, and he loves his family. And that's probably why he was in that spot on that day.
O'Neill says it was Johnson's older sister, 25-year-old Brianna, driving the car, and a fellow car senior in the back seat along with Johnson. Neal says the family didn't really know Brianna as an adult. They were close when she was a kid. Police say the 3 were sitting in a vehicle around 1:40 Sunday afternoon, attempting to sell a gun to the suspect at Cypress Run Apartments when the suspect opened fire, killing Caleb and Brianna, injuring the other high schooler who is expected to survive.
If the window was down and his seatbelt was up, he certainly was not expecting that to happen. And definitely the wrong place, wrong time for him. Mm-hmm. In general, yes, but definitely for him. He's not that child. He's just not that child. We gather, we talk about it, and then we forget about it until the next incident, and that has to change. Mm-hmm. When that happens, it's just like the erosion that's happening to our city from a biological or geographical standpoint. The community shrinks. We have to do something about the disenfranchisement, because that's how this happens. People are angry and they're hurt. Mm-hmm. And they've lived in this cycle, and they don't value life anymore.
Johnson's family wants to thank Carr High School and those who have lent them invaluable support. O'Neill asked the city to pray for them and the others who have been impacted by gun violence. Shelley?
All right, Caitlin, thank you. Staff and faculty at Edna Carr High School say Johnson was an exceptional young man with a bright future. He was less than a month away from walking across the stage and getting his high school diploma. Johnson played football, was on the homecoming court, and had plans to join the Navy after graduation. Carr's assistant principal says what they lost in Johnson can never be replaced.
His memory will never be lost upon us because we know to always say his name. And we will hold on to his family in these halls. But we just want him to be remembered as a scholar here at Carr, as a young man that had potential. He was going to make a mark on this world. And so we will always remember him as such.
The Inspire NOLA Charter School CEO explained that in the 7 years he's held his position, he's attended a student's funeral every year due to gun violence. He called it a trend that needs to end.
What triggered the murder of Rihanna, you may ask? This story would take a deeper turn. New Orleans police arrested the father of a slain Edna Carr High School student on a Friday afternoon, alleging that he took justice into his own hands by stalking and killing the man accused of murdering Brianna Brown and Caleb Johnson. Bokia Johnson, age 46, had allegedly been following Hollis Carter, age 21, to and from Orleans Parish Criminal District Court, waiting outside the courthouse for him to emerge from pretrial proceedings, later trailing him in his black Ford F-150. When Hollis Carter and his mother stopped at the intersection of Chef Mateo Highway and Peoples Avenue in Gentilly, a F-150 slid on them as the driver would open fire. Hollis was pronounced dead at the scene, and his mother, whom police had not identified, was rushed to the hospital where she was reported to be in critical condition.
Killing. The father of an Edna Carr student who was murdered last year is arrested for killing the suspect behind his son's murder. This morning, police arrested Bokio B. Johnson here for that deadly double shooting in Gentilly Wednesday that left a man dead and a woman critically injured. Again, this happening Wednesday morning at the intersection of Chef Mentor Highway and Providence Place. 21-year-old Hollis Carter Jr. was killed in that shooting, shot multiple times there in broad daylight. His attorney confirms to WDSU that Carter was actually on his way to court Wednesday morning for pre-trial motions in the murder of Johnson's son. Now, after interviewing Johnson at his home, that's when they took him in. Caleb Johnson and his stepsister were both shot and killed last March near Cypress Run Apartments in Algiers. His obituary listing Bokio as his father. His girlfriend also shot in that shooting. Monday would actually mark the anniversary of Caleb's killing.
As spelled out in the court documents, Hollis' slain was the latest example of how so-called experts say violence in New Orleans can beget more violence, keeping the city's murder rate extremely high. Hollis was awaiting trial for the 2021 killings of Caleb Johnson, an 18-year-old senior, just days away from his high school graduation, and his sister, Brianna Brown, who was 25 at the time of the slayings. Hollis Carter was scheduled to appear in court for a status hearing in a double homicide which had taken place at about 9 a.m. A little more than 2 hours later, the NOPD will release a surveillance camera photo of a pickup they suspected had been driven by the killer. The footage showed a black F-150, and members of Carter's family would immediately allege that the vehicle was Bokia Johnson's, going on to tell police that Caleb's father would allegedly sit outside of the courthouse on court appearances and follow them home. Police would allegedly match the license plate of the pickup truck captured on surveillance cameras to the license plate registered to Bokio's Ford F-150. After executing a search warrant at Bokio's home, the NOPD would allegedly find a rifle magazine along with an empty rifle box. Investigators will note that they recovered multiple rifle casings at the scene of Hollis' killing, but would stop short of saying whether they matched the caliber of the rifle magazine and box seized from Bokio's home. Detectives would arrest Bokia Johnson after he would allegedly state in an interview that he was the only person in possession of his truck on the day of Hollis' death. Bokia was booked into Orleans Parish Jail on one count each of second-degree murder and attempted second-degree murder, despite a video confession where Hollis would state that he shot Caleb and Brianna after a gun sale gone bad. Hollis' attorney, John Fuller, would state that he was preparing to argue that someone else was in fact the trigger man. That person, however, would never be identified or arrested by the NOPD. The Orleans Parish District Attorney's Office would decline to comment on the case.
Trial continues for a Gentilly father who's charged in a retaliatory killing after his own son was killed. Bokio Johnson is facing charges accused of killing 21-year-old Hollis Carter Jr.
Now, Carter was accused of killing Johnson's son, Caleb Johnson, and injuring his stepdaughter. WDSU reporter Ariel Brumfield joins us live, and you're going to bring us some updates from all that transpired inside the courtroom today. Ariel?
Yeah, ladies, court wrap not too long ago. We had a full day listening to witness statements from NOPD investigators as well as family. And this is not a clear-cut homicide case. We talked to legal experts about retaliatory shootings and how it can impact or sway a jury. On Thursday at criminal court, jurors heard testimonies of NOPD detectives and employees regarding their recollection and investigation of the shooting involving Bokio Johnson, who faces second-degree murder charges for the killing of Hollis Carter Jr. In March of 2022, Johnson allegedly shot Carter at the intersection of Chef Mentor Highway and Providence Place. Court records detail Carter was on his way to the courthouse for a murder trial where he was charged in connection to a shooting that killed Bokio's son Caleb and his stepdaughter.
This has the effect of bringing in an emotional element on the part of the defense that oftentimes isn't present. One of the things that comes into any case involving a homicide is why did it occur? A jury is always interested in why did it happen.
Jurors also heard from Tamika Newman, Carter's aunt, who testified on the many times she claimed she witnessed Johnson in his black F-150 truck outside of the courthouse for her nephew's trial. She claims Johnson made comments in the courtroom back in 2022 saying her nephew, Hollis Carter, needed to talk to him and informed him of who killed his son. The turning point in court, the defense, Bokio Johnson's attorney, claims that on the stand, Newman changed her 2022 testimony. She gave to detectives claiming that two people were following her family members outside of the courtroom. In the 2022 audio recordings, Newman didn't name anyone, but on Thursday in court, Newman said she identified Bokio Johnson as the person.
In the state side, the fact that the person that they're representing, the alleged victim and deceased, is somebody who was accused of multiple homicides, and that type of negative cloak will have an impact on how they're viewed and what sympathy is presented. The other side, for defense, they have a couple of issues to be concerned with, because on one hand, the story as presented, assuming the state's facts were true, still leaves them very sympathetic with a father acting as a result of the deaths of his two children.
And trial does continue tomorrow morning here at 9:30. We're told they are expected to begin closing statements. Reporting from criminal court, I'm Ariel Brumfield, WDSU News.